Okay, I believe we should be live now. Hello and welcome to the Midnight Society Book Club. It is October 2nd today. We are going to be discussing our September book club pick. So let me be official here. We are gathered here today to submit for the approval of the Midnight Society. We Are All Guilty Here by Karin Slaughter. This is North Falls #1. It's the first book in a new series. And in case you are unaware of the book club, we are a free online bi-monthly book club. It costs you nothing to join, and we read thriller, horror, feminist fiction, and you just read the book. You meet us back here for the live show. We talk about it. We chit-chat. It's a good time. That's all there is to it. It's free. And the most up-to-date information is going to be found on my Instagram at the Midnight Society Book Club. So, and the live shows are always here on YouTube. I am your host, Elizabeth. This is my lovely co-host, Jessie from Reading with Jess. And I'm going to ask her to tell you about herself in just a minute. But before then, I want to go over the rules for the book club as far as like indoctrinating books into the book club. We have some little rules, and that is I get a vote. My co-host Jessie gets a vote, and then the audience gets a vote. I always post about 24 hours before the live show on the Instagram, and that gives y'all an opportunity to put in your votes as well. And then the average among those three is going to make up the total. And if that is 3 stars or higher, then it will be indoctrinated and live on in notoriety forever. So, and all of that's just for fun, honestly. But like, yeah, that's the deal. Okay, so we are going to do some non-spoilers first, and then we will get into some spoilers. I'll let y'all know if you have not actually read the book before we get into spoilers. But before we do that, why don't y'all let me know in the comments if you're watching live. If you have read the book, give me a little bicycle emoji. And then if you have not read the book, give me a sunset or a sun or something like that, just to let me know where we're standing. And while y'all are doing that, Jess, do you want to give us a little bit of a tidbit for anyone who may not be familiar with your content? Like, what kind of books do you like to read, and a little bit about yourself? And then what was the last 5-star book that you read as well?
Okay. Hello, my name is Jessie, or Jess. My channel is Reading with Jess. I typically like to do like reading vlogs or challenges or, book hauls, that sort of thing. Just the typical normal content. I read thrillers, mostly mystery thrillers, psychological thrillers. I dabble a little more into the horror paranormal side. And then I also like romance. I'm very picky with my romance, but I kind of read those two, but I'm not opposed to like, science fiction if I need to, or like historical fiction. So a little bit of everything, but mostly thrillers and romance. I wrote these down so I would not forget, but I have 2 last 5-star reads. The last one I technically read was a romance. It's Any Trip But You by Victoria Levine. Loved that one. But the last thriller that I read was Someone Knows by Vi Keelan. I really liked it. Kind of another.
I don't know either one of those.
Really? So I read The Unraveling, which was an aardvark pick last year at the beach, and I loved it. And then I read this one, also gave it 5 stars. So,
what was the thriller one called?
Yeah, Someone Knows.
Someone knows.
It's about a woman who's like a college professor, and back when she was like in high school, her best friend was kind of like in a inappropriate relationship with a teacher. No, it's by Vi Keelan. It's got a woman peeking through blinds. Yeah. But her friend was in an inappropriate relationship with a teacher, and she may have killed him. Who knows? Okay. But now as an adult, someone is writing a story for an assignment, and it sounds just like what happened. So that's all you really need to know.
All right. I have not heard of that one, so I'm interested to check that out. Let's see. Okay. And then it looks like we're kind of split in the comments here. 30%. Oh, hey, what's going on, y'all? And then okay, so Jessie, have you read from Karin Slaughter before?
I have. I've read Pretty Girls, Pieces of Her, and The Good Daughter.
Okay. And
So
Pretty Girls is my favorite of Karin Slaughter's and one of my favorite books ever, and which is part of the reason I wanted to pick this one today, because I have not had a chance to read a Karin Slaughter book or a series like from the beginning as it's coming out since I've been a Karin Slaughter fan. But also, it's been a minute since I've read Pretty Girls or any of her other books. And so when I got into this one, I was a little bit like, oh no, am I like misremembering my feelings about her? And it took me a second to get into it, but I actually really did end up enjoying this one. And I have read Karin Slaughter. I mean, I've read Pretty Girls. I've read The Good Daughter. I've read Pieces of Her. I've read all of the Grant County series, and I've read the first Will Trent series, or first Will Trent book, but I have not continued on in the Will Trent series. But I gotta say, I am really looking forward to continuing on in this series, because where it left me off, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need so much more information. We're not giving spoilers yet, but let's go ahead and do a description. Are you comfortable giving a description of the general book?
Yeah.
Or
again, I wrote everything down, so because if I didn't, I would like not have good answers. So this follows a woman named Emmy Clifton. She is in the police force in a small town called North Falls. She is in the middle of an investigation of the disappearance of 2 missing teenage girls. It follows lots of guilt, memory, hidden secrets, and it's in a tight-knit small town community. And I feel like that's all people should know, but there's more details.
Yeah. Karin Slaughter like typically writes in small town in the South, and a lot of the themes and things that she talks about have to do with this really small, tight-knit Southern community where people aren't necessarily as progressive, and she has a lot of depth in her characters when she likes to show like all sides of everything. I feel like all of her characters have nuance to them. Like they're not all good or all bad. And I love that about her. I love that about her writing. And I also love that she's not afraid to go there. Although I don't feel like this one went there like Pretty Girls did, but it still got dark. It still got pretty dark at times. And on that note, check the trigger warnings if you haven't read this one, and you do typically need trigger warnings. And murder and all of those things as well, but it goes beyond that too. So just have a look if it's something that you're worried about before getting into this and you haven't finished it. Let's see. I was thinking I'd already read one of her books, but I just looked up her bibliography and apparently I've not. Oh, well, you should absolutely read Pretty Girls. Pretty Girls it's a, what do they call it when it's not a series? It's just a what?
Standalone?
Oh, yeah. It's a standalone. So it's a standalone, and it's about sisters, and it's dark. It's so dark, but it's really, really good.
I would say that one's probably the darkest in my opinion.
There's one scene in particular that I cannot get out of my head. Like it lives in here, just rent free. Yes, thank you. That was a good description, and it is kind of like a general description, and I knew that going in, so I thought I was prepared for it to have more in store for me than initially pitched, and I think it was right. Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Pretty Girl should be classified as a gateway drug, 100%. Oh wow, this is your first Karin Slaughter. That's awesome. Yeah, Karin Slaughter is like she's different from the other authors that I read because she's been around, like, I don't want to say it in a mean way, but she's been around the block. Like, she's been writing. If you notice on the beginning cover of this book, it says 25 years, 25 books, a lifetime of stories, KS. Like, she's been doing this for a while. She is a seasoned thriller author. She's been in, the little paperbacks in the grocery stores for years and years and years. And she does something different. She's prolific for a reason because she is so good at just like really getting into the grit of who people are. So that's kind of honestly like all of her stories, no matter where it's set or what's going on, she's getting down to like who people are and why.
Yeah, definitely character driven as well as like plot driven.
Oh my gosh, though, the twists in here, there were so many twists. There were twist after twist after twist after twist. So, okay, let's talk about our ratings. Let's just go ahead and talk about our ratings. Okay. I'll let you know. I am giving this one 4 stars. It didn't give me the like 5-star feeling like Pretty Girls did, but it came pretty close. And the amount of twists in here that she was able to pull off and the big twist at the end, I had no clue whatsoever. And I had so many suspects, which we will get into. And my suspect list changed constantly throughout the book. But yeah, she really pulled it over on me. She's so good at a red herring and just like throwing her off her scent. But I think part of the reason she can do that is because she's building out this huge world. Like there are so many characters in this story. It's insane. So Jessie, what was your book? And let us know in the comments what you rated this as well. If you read this, we're not in spoilers yet, but I will let you know. We're going to get there shortly. So what did you think, Jessie?
I also ended up giving this a 4-star. I will admit, like you said, it didn't give me that 5-star vibe. And I read this early on in September. So I'm kind of losing a little bit of like the finer details. I was trying to like refresh my memory before going live. I gave it 4 stars. I'm really excited to continue with the series, and like you, like I never like start with the series as it's coming out in publication, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And like you said, lots of characters. I was like, why are there so many characters? And I kept forgetting it's the beginning of a series. So
yeah, it is. And like one thing that I really loved is that we started off with just these 2 girls, and then it's like almost like she starts off like zoomed in, and then we just zoom out and then zoom out and then zoom out and then zoom out until eventually we literally like know everybody in this town. And we're like, they all have families, and we're trying to remember how they're interconnected and who gets along with who and who doesn't. And it's like this incredible web that she's able to weave and yet still keep my attention and still give us enough twists for me to want to keep turning the page. Like, it's very skillful, I feel like, what she does.
I agree.
Okay, so are there any, and I hate asking you this because I'm even having a harder time answering this question, but what would you compare this to? Like, if you were to give like a comp title, if it were somebody likes this, they might.
Yeah. So I was having a hard time like finding like comparison books. Honestly, the 3 books I mentioned before, Pretty Girls, Pieces of Her, The Good Daughter. I feel like The Good Daughter would probably be the closest, just for like the police side of things. I also put The Lake of Lost Girls. I don't know why. I think it's because it had like mentions of like a podcast, girls going missing, bodies of like water. Yeah. I gave that one also 4 stars. So, but those were the 4 I had. Not very exciting.
Honestly, like I didn't have anything to write down. I'm sitting here like staring at my bookshelf before we started. I'm like, man, what can I compare this to? And I really don't know other than like Karin Slaughter's own books. But I would just say if you like character-driven stories that are still twisty, and especially following women, I feel like a theme throughout a lot of her books is that she shows the bonded connection of women, whether it's sisters or, family, or what have you. She really does hone in on that in like a way that is so universally moving. Like, I don't know, like, how else to say it. Like, she gets into the crevices and the cracks of like the truth,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
she's just so good at that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get into spoilers. I want to talk about some of the themes of the story, as well as some plot points, and some world building and things also in there. And oh, let me see what's going on in the comments here. Oh, another 4 stars. Well, 4 stars, 4 stars. Interesting. Okay, listening to the audiobook, does the print version have a Clifton family tree? I gotta say, no, it does not. And that's actually in my notes. That is one thing that I want for book 2 if Karin Slaughter ever comes across this video. And that's one thing I would love. Actually, I didn't really even think of a family tree, but I want maps. I want a map of this town. I want a map of the crime scenes, because there's so much detail in the descriptions that sometimes it's hard to hold that all in my mind at once. And so even as I was reading it, I was like, man, I wish I had a map, because she was like, across the street, there's this, and then down the block, you have this store and this store. And I'm like, I can't hold that all at once. But like, if I had a map in here, this would just, it would just bring it up like just that much more of like, yes, give it to, like, we need a map here.
Because it felt like a small town, but yet everything was kind of further away, like where like the falls were, the pond, and everything was at, or like even like where the crime scene was. So like, I mean, a map would have been great, even a family tree, because again, lots of characters.
Yeah. Okay, so let me go ahead and put the spoiler thing up. So if anyone has not finished it, or if you've not read it yet and you don't want to be spoiled, now's the time to back out, and you can finish the book and come back here afterwards and finish watching this, because we are going to get into some spoilers now. And frankly, it's hard to talk about this at all without getting into spoilers, because there are twists from like the first page, like the second chapter. The twists just keep coming. So yeah, if you do not want to be spoiled, now is your time to leave. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again later. That said, let's talk about some spoilers. I feel like we should go through the plot points first, actually, just to like refresh and bring some of this stuff up. So I kind of like made a list of the like plot points, just to like for my own memory, So first, we're following these 2 girls, and Madison and Cheyenne, and they are 15 years old. It's Madison's birthday, and she is snatched away. And they find both of these girls' bikes in the parking lot at where they were doing the fireworks. They had like a fireworks thing going on for the small town. 4th of July. Oh, so her birthday was on 4th of July, I guess. I don't really put that together. And then, so both of them get snatched away, and we're following Emmy Clifton, who is the, what does she call it? Sheriff's deputy, or like, she's like next in line under the sheriff.
Yeah,
which is her dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Was the fact that her dad was the sheriff a surprise to you, or did I miss something?
I don't think it was a surprise, because it took me a while to realize they were related. And I was like, oh, this is her dad. Okay, got it. So
okay.
I was trying to create my character list, and so I have it off to the side.
I knew she was, a cop, but I didn't know that Gerald was her dad until like chapter 3. And maybe I missed that, because I was like, what? That's her dad?
Yeah, it may be also, I feel like, I could be wrong, but didn't she like not call her parents like mom and dad, or very rarely?
Oh, I don't know. I think she often referred to him as Gerald, for sure. Yeah. And she called, well, I don't know, because we're in 3rd person. So she's not really calling them by their name, but we're hearing their names.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. But then we find out these girls are missing. We find out they are into some dark stuff. Like, they are selling themselves for money. They are taking pictures, meeting up with strange guys. They're dealing weed and all kinds of drugs, and they're 15 years old. Madison literally just turned 15, so it's kind of shocking.
Mhm.
And then they have this guy. What is the Ned Flanders guy's name? Why can't I think of his name?
Oh,
Is it Dale?
um,
Something like that.
hang on. Let me go through my
Loudermouth.
list.
I think it is Dale
Yes.
Loudermouth. Initially,
Mhm.
they think that he's the one that did this because they find, like, Emmy literally catches him red-handed with a bunch of, what do they call it? Child CP. I
Yeah.
forget the initial.
Bad photos, evidence
Bad.
of like, underage inappropriateness.
Yes. Then you have Adam, who is
Yeah.
called the perv, and we don't know that Adam is the perv for a long time. He's this older guy that hangs out with the kids and,
Yeah.
sells the weed here and there. And then in chapter 10, 11, I think, we learned that the girls died.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which that was shocking to me.
I was shocked. I was like, she's killing it. And then even in the pitch of the story, they say, like, she failed her friend once and now she's doing it again. So it's like, I should have expected that. Like, I should have known that. But I thought that was going to be like in the past, not something that is happening right now. And then we go 12 years forward. That shocked me.
Yes.
Did you see that time jump coming?
No, I was like, oh, because like I thought like at the end we would find out like where these girls went, who took them, but it just kind of like all happened at once. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I had the Kindle version, so I didn't have the physical books. I didn't know how much more of the book we had, but I was like, wow, this story wrapped up real quick. And then it said 12 years later. I was like, okay, we still have more. Okay.
That would have been a really short story. And at that time, I was still not really sold on the book at that point. But then when we got 12 years later, then I started seeing how she was setting up everything. And there's this, let's talk about, so before we do that, let's talk about Hannah, because Hannah is Emmy's best friend and Madison's stepmom. Madison's one of the girls who was killed, and they were best friends. She and Hannah and Emmy have been best friends for a long time. And basically, Madison seemed like she was trying to ask Emmy for help right before she disappeared. Emmy tells Hannah this and says, like, I turned her down. And, like, I told her not now because she had gotten in a fight with her husband. And Hannah goes off on her. I'm like, Hannah's the worst person in this book. No, that's not true. That's so not true. But, like, I did not like that. I thought she way overdid it. And I understand in that moment, like, she's grieving. Like, I get that. But she's telling her, don't ever talk to me again. Like, don't ever speak to me again. You took away everything that was precious to me. And, like, come on, Hannah. She's not the one that did this. She tried everything she could to help these girls. And then later on, when they're even, like, making up, like, later on in the book, Hannah makes another comment, like, oh, what, you didn't, when they were talking about Dylan and her love interest, and she was like, oh, you didn't even, what was it? Something like, oh, you hid your emotions and then just decided never to speak to him again. Oh, how shocking. Like, being sarcastic and kind of blaming Emmy for not being the one to try to reconcile with her when she literally said, don't ever speak to me again, no matter what you do. Like, she rambled on and told her, don't talk to her. And I'm just like, no, Hannah, no, that was not cool. I get that Hannah had to be like that for the story.
Yeah.
But
like, in the heat of the moment, totally understandable. But, like,
for 12 years,
for them to be best friends and for her to see, the girl, like, grow up, I'm sure she's holding a lot of guilt. But, like, I think she just, like, over exaggerated. And again, was the worst person.
Yeah. And then as far as like my my little tiffs with the characters, I was also pissed that Cole hooked up with Jack. Like, Cole hooked up with the one guy that, like, made a podcast to make your mom look bad in public.
Yeah.
Like, why that guy? And Emmy was just like, I knew he wasn't good for him, but it is what it is. And I'm like, what? I would be so pissed if I was Emmy, if he hooked up with that guy. Like anyone else. Like that guy for real. But anyway, so we have this time jump. We find out that Jack has a podcast, which I kind of liked that they didn't get into the podcast bit of that. Like, it would have taken up too much time. And if they had tried to show the actual podcast. And I also think Jack was like a red herring. So it was good to have him there. But like that, I like the idea of a podcast. Like that always catches my eye. Like that's
same.
Yeah. That's a one for me where I'm like, if I hear about a podcast, I'm in. But I'm glad they didn't pitch this based on that, because if they had, I would have expected it to have like episodes of the podcast in there, which they did not. What else? Okay, so Emmy gets divorced with Jonah, and then there's another girl that's been taken in kind of the same way that Cheyenne and Madison had been. And the podcast is saying that Adam, the perv, is actually innocent, and that Emmy, wrongly convicted him, wrongly put him away. Let's see. What do you feel about like that whole situation with, I mean, they're kind of setting it up because Gerald honestly was in charge of that because he's sheriff.
Yeah.
But we kind of know something's not right with Adam at that point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I felt like Adam went away, but also like he still didn't seem innocent. I was like, well, it can't be him again in a thriller, right? Like it just seems like it would be too easy. So I was like, it can't be him, it can't be him, it can't be him the whole time. Because like, why would they? I just can't see a thriller putting someone who was convicted, who got out, going back in. It just seemed weird. But also I don't think I got too much information of like why people were digging into it as much, like after everything happened, So maybe a little bit.
When the podcast came out, it like brought up more stuff, which led to him getting released.
Because of the girl saying that he assaulted her.
Like too far away,
an alibi
or something. Yeah, he had an alibi basically. Yeah. So they had to let him out. Okay, and then they're going to his house to protect him at this point, to protect Adam, because there's an angry mob at his door, and Gerald gets shot.
Yeah, that was shocking.
What's that?
That was shocking to me.
Yeah, that one shocked me too. I was like, no way they're killing Gerald. But yes, they did. He died in Emmy's arms. And oh my gosh, I was not ready for Gerald to go. But I can't remember if at that point we knew that Gerald had cancer. But we did learn I think it was after that we learned that, he had cancer.
Yeah.
And so, Emmy's mom has dementia. He has cancer. But that also was another thing that pissed me off about Emmy, though, is that she was like, oh, you need to run for sheriff again. And this was before he got shot, before we knew that he had cancer. But she already knew. And she was like, no, so-and-so ran till they were 91. You can do it. It's fine. And meanwhile, she knows that he's dying of cancer. And she's like, no, I don't want to do this job without you. Like, you need to like suffer through it.
That was awesome.
So I didn't like that. But
I didn't like her mom at all. Well, what was her name?
Mirda. Was it
Mirda? Yeah, I didn't like her at all.
I kind of liked her. Like, obviously she's not like a likable character because she's kind of like in your face and sassy, and supposedly was having an affair with Louis Singh in her youth or whatever. So yeah, not the greatest person. But I liked that she brought in the like English teacher vibe where she was like constantly correcting their grammar and she was such a pedant. And like how that carries on through the other family members too. Like you see it in the rest of the family. And so it's like you can tell. I liked how they talked about the generational trauma and stuff, which we'll get into, but like you could absolutely see the things that they were holding on to from like what they grew up with and what they were taught. And then, you know, potentially just like genetically that it's ingrained into them that not that pedant is genetic, but it definitely felt real. It felt like a real family with real influences. Okay, let's see. Henry. Okay, so Henry, the situation with the siblings is confusing because Emmy is the youngest. And then Tommy was much older than her. And then Martha and Henry were close in age, but the oldest. And so at the beginning, we just know that Martha's gone, but we don't know that she's not dead. And then we know that Henry died. And we start to figure out like what happened. And so apparently Martha and Henry got really drunk and they went on the river or something and he drowned. They didn't find his body for 6 days. It was just like awful for the family. And then we think that Emmy was born later, but then later on we find that, well, first we meet Jude and find out that Jude is actually Martha, Emmy's sister, who never died, but ran away. And eventually that Emmy is Jude's daughter, which was like, I feel like I should have seen that coming, but I did not. I did not see it coming at all. I was just like, oh, they had kids like way far apart between each other. Like, that's not weird at all.
Not uncommon.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I loved that. And then Elijah. Paisley's dad was just such an asshole. A lot of these characters were so deplorable, and I just want to like, oh, why? But I get it. Like, she is trying to show us like all the different versions of people in this town, and we're definitely getting all of them. A lot of pedophiles in this town, though, gotta say. I thought the same thing with Grant County. Like, it's so funny because it's like a series, but like every book, it's like this new like crazy thing that's happening, and it's supposed to be this tiny town, and I'm like, what? Get out of this town! Like,
neighbors,
staying in this town. This is dangerous. But what else? So eventually, we learn about Dylan, and Dylan, I thought at first he was a suspect for me because he had access to the kids. He was the like cop liaison or something for the kids. Back when Cheyenne
like
and Matt
officer.
What is what?
Wasn't he like the resource officer at the high school?
I didn't really know what that was. Do you?
Oh.
Do you know this?
I don't really know what it is either, but my high school had it.
Oh, really?
So,
I don't think we had. But then 12 years later, he was like a family lawyer, right? Or like because he was representing Hannah.
Yes.
So I guess he changed. I don't know how those careers are. Like, I guess he changed careers.
Small town.
Yeah.
Someone's going to do it.
So Emmy divorced Jonah. They have a son, Cole. I guess we just kind of skipped over that. Jonah, like, they were middle school sweethearts, and he was all she ever knew, and she ended up basically like paying his way through everything, and he was just like lazy, a loser. Yeah, a loser. So she finally got rid of him, and now she's dating Dylan, but you know, with her mom sick and her dad sick, she ends up pushing him away too. And supposedly Dylan is like a really good guy though. But honestly, like at the beginning, I was like, Dylan is totally a suspect. But when they came to like 12 years later and they were like already had this relationship in the past, I was like, okay, I guess she knows him well enough that she would know if he was doing all this. You know, she would know if his sexual interests were something other than her, you know, after they're in a sexual relationship. So I'm like, okay, he's probably not it. But when Jude comes in, we learn we get into the statistics. We get into, because she's like the specialist. She literally wrote the book. She's like the big wig, the big dog in the FBI. It is FBI, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was not Adam, but Adam's dad.
Yeah.
And Virgil. And Virgil. Ugh. Virgil really got me. I never once had him on my suspect list. He really got me. I was not expecting that at all. And the way he just like changed personalities when he was alone with Emmy, and she caught him, it was gross. It was gross. And then we find out that Cheyenne and Madison were blackmailing them because they had video of them, all four of them, in a sexual act. And and then we find out that Hannah did pull the trigger at the very last minute. We found out Hannah did pull the trigger, and that Emmy deleted the evidence and was just like, oh, Paul's gonna go away for it. So, oh my gosh, so much to break down within this. One of the main things that I felt like they touched over and over again was that like people can change, like our expectations of people, Jude's expectations based on like when she left and when she came back. And in some cases, I think we found that people can change, but I think in some cases we found that people can't. Like, I personally think that people can change, but it's not an easy thing. It's not like if you're following a natural course, then no, you have to make some huge changes if you're going to actually change. And you have to follow through.
Agreed. Yeah, I've always heard like the saying, like a tiger can't change its stripes. Is that the saying, or is it a cheetah?
Yeah. No, I think it's a tiger. Yeah, because she doesn't. Yeah. Or maybe.
I've always heard that, but I'm always willing to allow people to change because, like, I feel like if they want to change, they can make it change. But if they don't want to change, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Kind of like Jonah. Like, he was a loser in the beginning. He's probably still a loser towards the end. So, yeah, he's not going to change. Well, maybe in the series. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I guess we'll find out. Yeah, on page 298, I marked a quote.
Okay.
Everything you're saying is true. Celia said they were terrible people, terrible parents. How they treated you was unforgivable. It wasn't your fault Henry went into the river that night. It could have just as easily been you. Myrna and Gerald practically chased you out of town themselves. Wait, that's not the right. Okay, that's not the right. That's not the one I was trying to find. There's another quote. Where is it? Is this it? You can't put a person in one box, Emmy Lou. This is 314. Especially when they get older. This was Virgil talking to Emmy. You got to judge them by the totality of their lives. You do bad shit when you're young that you regret. You do good shit when you're old that you hope makes up for it. And to some extent, I feel like that is true. Like, I did some stuff when I was young that I definitely regret, and I've done better things since I've known better. But this is Virgil saying that. And, like, he literally can't actually believe that. Yeah. Because he's been doing terrible stuff.
Yeah, he was the man behind everything.
Yeah. But there was also another quote somewhere that said, like, where Jude was talking about how all kids get a different set of parents, no matter if they live in the same.
I saw you put that in the thing, and I was like, ooh, yeah.
And I think that's true too. And I think that can be proven. I think that has been proven that that's the case. And they do talk about that in like child psychology and stuff too. But it's not just like a physical thing. It's also a social experience. And we do get different versions of our family members, no matter if we do grow up in the same house. And especially in this case, since Gerald had quit drinking when Emmy came along. And so he was really, really trying to turn over a new leaf and like do better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a really cool one too.
Yeah. And I think also you see that with like each of the kids that ended up going missing or being murdered, like each of their parents were very different from one another.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and they also kind of drive home the point that like you can stress, you can, worry about your kid or do whatever, but like nobody is prepared to be in a situation like this. No parent is prepared. And it's not your fault if it does happen, but also like you just never know when something like that is going to happen. Like it's hard to protect your kids in general.
Yeah.
There were also a lot of themes about womanhood in here that I really liked. As far as Paisley's dad, I think his name was Elijah. He was supposed to be like a church deacon or whatever. And he kept talking about how she was dressing and how she was asking for it. And he basically took her for her own kidnapping.
Yeah. He gave me the ick with all that. Yeah.
Seriously, he was a suspect for me for a minute too. Because I was like, something's wrong with this guy. I don't like him at all. And then when Emmy called that out, though, the other FBI guy was like, he said he made some note to Jude, like, oh, she said in her interview with him that, she thought there was something weird going on with the way he talked about his daughter. But, maybe it's just her own experiences and she's bringing her own experiences into it. And Jude was like, well, how well do you know Emmy? How do you know the acting sheriff? He's like, well, not at all. And she's like, so why would you assume that she's bringing her own issues into this? And he just kind of gets shut down because like he can't respond to that because the only reason he said that is because she's a woman. If she had been a man, he never would have thought that or said that. And honestly, yeah.
I was gonna say you put something in there that I thought was really cool. You put a quote on page 227. A man has to prove himself once, and a woman has to prove herself every day. So, like comparing men and women, I thought that was really cool. So,
yeah, that also was a quote from Jude when she was talking to that same guy, right? And a lot of people, I don't think, thought that Emmy could do this. And I don't think Emmy thought that she could be sheriff either. Just because, especially in a small town, they're not getting that respect. And even Gerald, as he's getting older and he's getting thinner, he's getting less and less respect from the people too. It's like you have to have this like primal dominance to have power, or at least that's like that's what is like the vibe for this town. And society in general. Also, like on page 323, when Hannah and Emmy are kind of like reuniting, I think is when that was. They talked about grief, and they're coming together because they're having this like finally like Paul obviously shot Gerald and became an alcoholic after Madison died. And so she is now having to confront the fact that she was really, really harsh on Emmy before and say like, okay, like I kind of get it now. And I think it's important though, even though like that made me mad about Hannah and the fact that she came down so hard on him for that, is that a lot of people do not realize like why women in abusive relationships don't leave. And there are other factors. It's not just that easy. There are other factors. And so now Hannah is having to confront the fact that, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from. And maybe I should have left Paul earlier too, because he was not grieving. He's just going into self-destruction and he's pulling me down with him. But she says, Mhm. Emmy had lost herself to Jonah's insecurities. Hannah had lost herself to Paul's grief. Virgil had joked about how raising girls could kill a man, but he had no idea how fucking hard it was to grow yourself into a woman. I really liked that line. It really is. It's
Yeah.
so hard to grow yourself into a woman, and being a woman is like in this world is like a very specific thing that like we have to go through things that men are not going to understand, you know? And it's not just a sex thing. Like there's obviously with intersectionality and like the patriarchy without getting too political, like
Yeah.
there are other ways that we are affected differently, of course, but being a woman is not always easy. It's really not. And she's really driving that home here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed with all that. Because like even going back to that other quote, like I mean, women have to jump through hoops, whereas men can just walk. You know,
You do one
and
good
like
thing, they're like, he's a good guy.
yeah,
One thing, and they're like, oh, he's a good guy. Women does one good thing, and they're like, oh, she was adequate today.
yeah.
You know,
Or like if a man does one bad thing, it's well,
it was a
pity
mistake.
him. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
mistake. But if a woman does something, it's like, oh, how could you do that? Like the horror. Like, yeah, it's just not the same reaction to what men do versus what women do, and it's sad.
And it goes the other way around too, though. Like I feel like a lot of the men in the story are suffering from the effects of the patriarchy as well, just because they feel like they have to show their masculinity. They can't be themselves necessarily. And Jack is a good example of that, even because he is so upset that he's not being accepted by his peers when he's younger. And he's basically giving incel energy because he can't get the girls or whatever because he's a little different. He's a little off. But like he wait, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, he is also being pushed by the patriarchy to in some ways behave that way because men expect him to be big, they expect him to be macho, and then when he's not fulfilling that, he's therefore not attracting the opposite sex because women also have that expectation of men. Yeah, I wrote down. I want to read some of the stats because it's really insane of like abductions.
Some of the yeah.
Okay, in nearly half of missing children's cases, a parent or family member is the perpetrator. The victim is usually under the age of 6. Typically, there is a bitter divorce or custody dispute involved, but there is sometimes sexual assault component. And then Cheyenne and Madison were teenagers, so and both sets of parents were still married. So we're trying to like get down, like they're trying to figure out what kind of abduction this is. Says fewer than 1% of child abductions. This is page 32. Fewer than 1% of child abductions were committed by predatory kidnappers. The victims tended to be almost exclusively females, with the aggregate age of 14. They were more likely to be taken in an outdoor setting and to be coerced with a firearm. The kidnapper was more often than not driving a car. In 44% of cases, the victim is murdered within the first hour. 78% die within the first 3 hours. And then within 24 hours, virtually all of the victims are dead. So like the fact that we even have these kind of stats on this is just disturbing. And the fact that it's
all of those as well.
That it's reliable. Yeah. Yeah, and this is reliable information because it has happened over and over and over and over again. It's so absolutely disturbing. And it goes on to like when we get into Jude's character and she's talking about stuff because she's like the expert. And they're trying to figure out obviously who did all this. And really, so it's between a family member, an acquaintance, or a stranger. And between those three things, the percentages and the possibility of these kids still being alive after a certain amount of hours gets lower and lower and lower and lower. There was another one. Oh gosh. And then with the girls, when I found out they were hammering their hands and feet, not in the case of Cheyenne, but Madison and Paisley, I was that is so messed up. I don't think we found that until the autopsy 12 years later. But that's just rough. The Clifton lore. I loved the Clifton lore because we talk about like Gerald starts it, and then we get it from Jude too when she comes back, and Emmy finds that Jude is reminding her of her dad a lot. But they talk about DFR, which is don't feel right, and that's like their intuition, their instinct.
Yeah, I loved reading that.
Yeah. And then Gerald would always say, what do we know? What do we not know? Or no, what do we know? What do we think we know? And what are we missing? And so that was a theme that came up over and over again. Every time they got stuck, every time they were trying to figure out something that was going on, they didn't know where to go or what their next move was, they would say, what do we know? What do you think you know? And what are we missing? And then just the way that like she explained how Gerald said okay or like how he would respond to people and how she would see that in Jude. I really liked that too. There is a lot about grief in here too, between like her aging parents and her lost sibling when Henry that died, and Myrna having dementia. That was pretty tough too.
Yeah.
I would say it really does. She does a good job of kind of like ruminating on those ideas without it being like traumatizing. Although for them it is. But
that's always a difficult subject with me because like my grandfather had Alzheimer's, dementia.
Oh, really?
And I mean I was still young, but like I mostly remember my family having to deal with that more than like seeing my grandfather go through that. But like every time I read a book, whether it's like a romance or even a thriller that has that, it's sad to read about.
Yeah. And it's really tough because you think of when people get older, you know, they've gained all of these experiences and they're so wise, and then to lose that has got to be terrifying. It's got to be absolutely terrifying and degrading. So, man, that was a tough subject, definitely in the book, as far as Myrna not remembering her family members and them having to make the decision to send her to a care home. And like, I definitely had some experiences like that as well. Like, I lost my mother-in-law last year to brain cancer. And so while it wasn't dementia, like we definitely went through some of the same things where she was not really knowing what was going on. And, you know, it's really scary. It's got to be terrifying to be the person experiencing that. I can only imagine. So yeah, definitely trigger warning for that if that's something that y'all dealt with.
Yeah.
Sure. What else? There was also like a social hierarchy within the town. Like there were so many Cliftons, and the Cliftons like ran the place. But then even between the Cliftons, there were like the rich Cliftons and the poor Cliftons. And that was kind of interesting seeing how she like wove that together, like with her cousin Taby, but then also all the Cliftons like had some like mental health stuff going on. So it's like not just like they're all the same, but they're all different, but they're all the same. It's like this like continuum. Like it's like this.
They're kind of like grouped together, but like still different in a way.
The Venn diagram.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Overlapping. So,
Mm-hmm.
let's see. What time is it? Oh gosh, it's 7:55. Okay. So, is there anything else that you think we should mention before we start to wrap up that we didn't touch on?
I did have another quote, and I don't think you went over this one. But it was at 13%, but it says small men can't handle grown women. They go after girls because most girls are pliable and desperate for outside approval. At that age, you'll do almost anything for attention, even if it feels bad and you know it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I've highlighted that on my Kindle. So
no, that one,
like,
I remember that line, and that definitely struck me too. And
mm-hmm.
I did some stuff too when I was going through with all the hormones. That's totally right.
Same.
On. Yeah, right on. For sure.
And I hate to repeat it, but it's sad that like small young women have, or not even just young women, just women in general have to, seek approval sometimes. Mm-hmm. So, but that was the only other thing I highlighted that I felt like was worth mentioning.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's go over our final rating. So actually, I need to do the math. You gave this 4 stars.
I did.
Okay. You gave this 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars. And my average for the Instagram votes, which there were very many people that voted. So it's being affected, and it's very varied. So if you did not vote on Instagram, then next month, remember to vote on Instagram, because I add them up and it counts towards this. But our Instagram average was 2.6, which is rough. I had 1 star, 3 star, 4 star. It was all over the place. So with that said, I think we're still going to be okay. Let me see. So our average here. So we have 14. Oh, wait, no. 4 plus 4 plus 2.6. That's not right. 4 plus 4 plus 2.6. Me doing math. Okay, it's 10.6 divided by 3. So, okay, so it's 3.5. So we are indoctrinating this into the Midnight Society. Okay, I was going to be really sad if it wasn't. That was close though. I'm glad you gave that a 4 star.
I'm shocked because like I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I've had a bunch of people say like I didn't get to the book in time, but they were going to come back and watch this afterwards.
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe like this type of book is different for like for the book club, because it's like a crime thriller, but also I think a lot of people into like horror and thriller tend to steer away from crime thrillers or like things with a detective. Like that's almost like a specific genre. It is, but like it's divisive within the thriller community. Like people that like thrillers either love the like crime thriller with a detective and all of that, or they really don't. But I think even the people who don't necessarily like crime thrillers would like Karin Slaughter, because she's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if anyone has not read it or hasn't finished it, you should. So
yeah, you absolutely should. And I can't wait to get to the next book, because I want to see me run for sheriff. I want to see Jude stay there, and then like obviously they're gonna find out. Well, she may have already found out. Like they didn't really make it clear if Emmy knew or not, but like
I got the impression she did not find out.
She did not. Okay.
Or that, or like if she does know, she didn't address it.
Yeah.
So maybe she will.
Yeah, we're gonna see that. I want to see what's happening. I want to see what's going on with her and Dylan, and if they end up actually getting together, which it seems like they're going to. But I like where she left it. Yeah. Interested in moving on. Okay, and then before we leave, I do want to mention really quick next book club book that we will be reading is going to be for the month of November, and we're going to be reading We Love You, Bunny by Mona Awad. This is Bunny number 2. This is the first one, and I, again, have never picked a sequel before for the book club. This is the first time for that, but I do feel like this is one that requires a hive mind to decode, or at least it did for this one. So I'm enlisting all of you to help me get through this, because if you're unaware of Bunny, it was very divisive. I feel like a lot of people either really loved this or really hated this. I gave it 5 stars, but it left me so confused. It left me feeling like, what the heck did I just read? And so I totally understand if people did not like this. But at the same time, I think Mona Awad is such a brilliant writer. And then in this story, it's basically like our main character has written a story based on what happened in this book, and the bunnies don't like the way that they are perceived. And so they kidnap her and they want to tell their side of the story. So that's what this is going to be. I'm so excited to read this. It is a little bit longer, but you have 2 months basically to read it. We're going to have the live show at the end of November. I'm going to be joined by Gabby from Gabby Reads, as well as my IRL best friend, Sandy. And so if anyone's interested in reading this, that is what we will be reading in November. I don't know what the live show date is going to be just yet, but check out the Instagram at the Midnight Society Book Club for the most up-to-date information on that. And that said, Jessie, do you want to tell us anything that you have coming up that we should check out? And where can, if anyone, wants to check out your channel, where can they find you at? And then also, if you have anything you're like really into right now that you're like kind of obsessed with, I want to know.
Okay, so things I have coming up. I have not put out my October TBR, so that will be coming up. I'm doing a interesting twist on a TBR, so that should be coming out sometime this weekend. As far as like other content, last month I hosted a readathon called Survive the Night. It's a camp slasher themed where like you have to hide from a summer camp thriller. I vlogged that. That should also be coming out really soon. You can find me. My channel is Reading with Jess. My Instagram is Reading with Jess with an underscore at the end of it. I'm on TikTok, but it's not very serious over there. I mostly watch dog videos more than posting, but I have a book club. It's called Sleep When I'm Dead. We do new release thrillers over there as well. I've got my book club that we're reading for October and November. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. Anything that I'm like super into right now? Not really, but I just went book shopping and brought like 25 books home. So
Nice.
Yeah. So I went and visited my friend Gwen, and she has a place called the Book Exchange where you can bring in books and you get store credits. So I only paid for like 1 book. So
nice. That's awesome.
So, yeah, I just gotta put them up on the shelf. So they're all in those bags. So
nice. Well, cool. All of Jessie's links are going to be in the description down below too. So you'll go check her out. Go send her some love if you haven't already. And it's 8:04. I've kept you over. Thank you so much for reading along with me and joining me today, Jessie. I really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah. And I guess we can call it there. So y'all don't forget that life is short. So read Riley. We will see you next time. Cheers and goodbye.